was thinking about tonight. Where will our thoughts take us? What new dimensions of thought may we discover? Well, as Zen Master says, we'll see. Out of the dark of the deep range and into the light of the deep strange cometh the hour, cometh the arc midnight. This is John B. Wells speaking. Tuesday through Friday, I am privileged and pleased to host Caravan to Midnight, which can be found at caravantomidnight.com. And every day, Tuesday through Friday, I say almost the same thing every time. Have we got a program for you? Amazing stuff. Unbelievable. Most recently, Dr. Timothy Noakes, the man behind Banting. He's getting a lot of blowback. He's a medical doctor. He's a South African. And he's helping people. He's curing people. Of course, the establishment doesn't like that very much. But other people last week, Kevin Shipp, all of these wonderful authors, wonderful researchers, and as a matter of fact, some hardcore law dogs as well. Jordan Phillips was one of them, intimately acquainted with the Kiki Camareno murder by drug lugs. That's drug lords and thugs. I just made a new word. So, if you want to hear some news and information and some interviews that you absolutely positively will not hear on terrestrial radio ever, then this is the program for you. Tonight, Dr. Richard Allen Miller and L.A. Marzulli. And you know, some other stuff about this thing that's coming up again. This is the second time it's been hosted in Dallas. It's called Hear the Watchman. And it's a fantastic conference, a 3-day conference. And you're going to like it. And I'll give you all the details here in just a little bit. Say, so what do you think about this 7 Earth-like planets having been discovered? Everybody wants to know the same thing. Did they find aliens? No aliens. Did aliens tell you there are no aliens discovered? No. Well, I want aliens. Well, you're going to have to wait. Yeah, a huddle of 7 worlds, all close in size to Earth, perhaps warm enough for water and life, has been spotted around a small, faint star in the constellation of Aquarius. Cue the song Aquarius now. Never mind. The discovery, which has thrilled astronomers, has raised hopes that the hunt for alien life beyond the solar system could start much sooner than previously thought, with the next generation of telescopes that are due to switch on in the next decade. I wonder if these planets are round or flat. I think they're round. Otherwise, it would just look like somebody slung some poker chips into outer space, of the jumbo variety. All right, well, I'll tell you what. This is probably the fastest 2 hours in radio. Oh, it goes by quickly. And I'm thinking that maybe the best thing to do is get it on with Dr. Richard Allen Miller. If you don't know who Richard Allen Miller is, you will. And boy, are you in for a treat. He's brilliant. He's Richard Allen Miller. Stand by.
Are you and your family spiritually and physically prepared for the battle ahead? Announcing Hear the Watchman, Dallas, March 31st through April 2nd. Join me, John B. Wells, Pastor Paul Begley, Pastor Billy Crone, Pastor Carl Gallups, L.A. Marzulli, Russ Dizdar, Derek and Sharon Gilbert from Skywatch TV, Josh Peck, Lisa Haven, Josh Tolley, John Reagan, Mike Norris, and more. Hear the Watchman returns to Dallas for a transformative weekend of unfolding prophetic events, revival, worship, and restoration. We stand at the edge of eternity and the clock is ticking, so reserve your seat now before they're gone. Come join the remnant body of Christ at the DFW Hilton Lakes Executive Conference Center for a powerful weekend that will open your heart and change your world. Visit caravantomidnight.com to reserve your seat today. Limited seating available. That's caravantomidnight.com to make your reservations now. Use promo code CTM and save $20 off the published purchase price. Be there and hear the Watchman.
All the shows, all the music, all the time. Visit caravantomidnight.com and become a CTM member now.
Let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Richard Alan Miller. He is a pioneer in the annals of metaphysical and paranormal exploration. He began working in the X-Files world of Navy Intel, SEAL Corp, and then MRU. In the late 60s, his public collaborations and research continue. As an original Black Ops team member, Miller's research in the field of paranormal began as a graduate physicist working 11 years with Navy Intel in anesthesiology. And during this period, numerous foundational papers, including A Holographic Concept of Reality and Embryonic Holography, were written. His past and current writings and presentations reveal a depth of knowledge and practical experience in three major fields: alternative agriculture, New Age physics, and metaphysics. He now writes for Nexus Magazine and is a preferred guest on radio, including internet radio. He is re-emerging at a critical time in humanity's evolution where metaphysics and practical survival converge. He currently has 10 new books he's preparing to publish. And they go like this: ESP Induction Through Forms of Self-Hypnosis, Power Tools for the 21st Century, and Workbook 1, 2, and 3, that's back to 2014. The Non-Local Mind in a Holographic Universe, the Diamond Body Series, Electromagic and Yogatronics, the SEAL Reports, Navy SEALs, Spook Central, MRU Reports, the Marshall Papers, Bob Marshall with Buckminster Fuller. Then, The Modern Alchemist, the magic and ritual use of herbs, the magic and ritual use of aphrodisiacs. Okay, why not? The magical and ritual use of parfum, yes. Pantheon, archetypal gods living in daily living. Archetypal gods in daily living. The holistic Kabbalah. Encyclopedia of Alternative Agriculture, Potential Herbs as a Cash Crop, Native Plants of Commercial Importance, Small Farm Series, Forest Farming Techniques, Successful Farm Ventures for North America, and all of these papers. And it's amazing. He reminds me a little bit of Ed Wynn because, he laughs and he'll kind of do, remember Ed Wynn? Can do that hoo-hoo-hoo thing. And then Rick will get real serious with you and get right up in your face with some information that sometimes is absolutely stunning. So anyway, we're about to connect with him in just a minute. We're having a little dither here. Speaking of metaphysical this and metaphysical that, did you hear about did you happen to hear about all the witches in the country and around the world are going to get together and to try and put a whammy on the lead man for Uncle Sammy, and that would be Mr. Trump. And if you read into it, it's like, well, wait. All we want to do is keep him from doing anything ugly. We don't want to cause harm to anyone or to him, and we don't want him to cause any harm to himself. And it's like, well, which witches are you? Are you black witches? Are you white witches? Are you multicolored witches? What's up? So I'll tell you what, without further ado, why don't we just talk with the one and only Dr. Richard Alan Miller? I'm going to ask him about this witch thing and just see if he's even paid it any attention at all. Dr. Rick, how are you, sir?
I'm good, John. Thank you for having me on, really. I have to laugh on the witchcraft thing. You throw me a curveball. Actually, there's white witches and black witches. Well, that's Christianity. Actually, I would say it's in living color.
Right.
In neo-pagan, the American Indian is probably our most accurate totemism and animism form in North America. There are different forms. The gypsies, and you had the warlock. That there, Logan, means one who steals and is branded in the left ear with a ring to signify he stole from his tribe, and that's a warlock, male or female. And so, mythology and all of that. Margaret Mead, others have written about this. I actually went through the Coven, Camelot, Star of the North before I got into magic. That's Llewellyn out of Minneapolis, St. Paul, and, Karl Shesky, Sandra. It's a long story, man. Witches are like shaman, and what they do is they look at things a little differently, like a witch doctor does. They like in the 18th century, a witch would have a big spider web up in the corner there with a bunch of webs and all of that. That's for clotting blood. If you had artery cut or something, that will cauterize just like that. And that's why all the mythologies have all the witches with these long, big, bumpy noses, and that's Macbeth, the three witches of Endor.
Right.
So,
on their blasted
to answer your question, it's living color.
Let me throw you another little curveball here. What do you make of, there seems to be a resurgence in, shall we say, occult power. It's...
Occult power. Well, occult means occluded. It was reserved for the ultra-elite of Europe for centuries. That's what your lodge was about. And it started in and around the time that the Catholic Church decided to turn on the Jesuits, which were the sciences for Rome, and put them on the stake. And there's a really interesting movie out called Assassin's Creed, talking about the Hashishin or Weishaupt, and those guys that decided to fight back the Church of Rome. Actually, a cult is occluded, and so when I came out of grad school, I was just drawn immediately. It's forbidden, you can't know it, it's hidden. Oh, yeah, that was me. And I went right straight for it. I studied 6 years with Gershom Scholem up in New York City College. He's a Zadi that taught Kabbalah, because I'm a Hermetic Kabbalist now. And I use the Sefer Yetzirah, the Book of Formation, and my daily work just to find correspondences. That Bible talks and gives you the relationship between sound and words, and how to pronounce them correctly, because in previous epochs, sound and dance were used as a type of technology that changed space-time, literally. Gabriel and his horn, and the whirling dervish, working on what we call a Casimir effect, the 3-6-9 cadence that is used in all kinds of like Roger Penrose talks about that in Princeton, in the Geometric Universe in his book. So, what level do you want to play in metaphysics?
Wow, you know what?
I've been doing this a long time, and I'm actually, here's the deal. I've been invited to a comic convention. There are about 5,000 kids are going to show up, doing their comics and things like that, just like they did in Galaxy Quest. And they've invited me to be the keynote speaker, where I'm going to come out as Dr. Strange, master of the mystic arts. I'm the real Dr. Strange. As alchemy led to chemistry, so now physics will lead to magic, which is advanced physics with a mystery school. And really, in fact, it's magic is the art of changing consciousness at will. And all the different forms of altered states of consciousness, from tweaking to paranoia, are gifts of God to be used where you can do things in those states that you cannot do in a conscious state. And that's why you have them. And you take drugs. Taking drugs is an act of magic. It's changing consciousness.
Conscious
will.
Dr. Rick, I got to ask you something, because people who have just turned in are going, wow, what? Some are going, oh, come on, first of all, don't touch that dial. You don't know, you don't know where it's been. So be careful. But let me ask you something.
Cooties. There are demons. There are Alabama ticks that, when you mess with things, haunts and whatever, they'll cling on you just like a tick will.
Oh, you bet.
You can use, it's simple to do because they're lesser. That means that if you're a fourth space, four-dimensional being, they're like a shadow on the ground. That's what a demon is in Jungian psychotherapy. When you have an object like the sun that hits your body, it casts a demon or a lesser part of yourself down onto the ground. That's why they call it in Jungian psychotherapy the shadow. It is the darker part of you that is not real, but it would like to be. It would like to be animated. You can look at trees and you can see wood spirits that have been cast in and locked into a tree. That came out of Hellblazer comics, or Constantine, the movie. That's that guy out of England that was writing those comics was extremely well versed in some forms of shamanic forms of magic. American Indian used to have skinwalkers and, all kinds of different cooties, werewolves. There's a werewolf loose now up in Wolf Creek here in Oregon. It's over 200 years old. It's out pillaging and scaring. It's probably just some tweaker running around in the woods. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, this is what I'm getting.
How it works, man. I used to be sent in to figure out stuff. I've seen things that I don't understand, like a shapeshifter. I've seen that. I don't know what it is. I saw a dog turn into a wisp of smoke. I saw it. I don't understand how that works. Life forms.
Now let me ask you something. I got to tie this together because
Bigfoot.
Going back to what I was saying a minute ago. When I read just a little bit of your CV. So put this together for people who may not know who you are, but who are going, oh no, wait. He knows a lot, but what is it? So look, let's start with this. SEAL Corp, the Navy's Intel's Mankind Research Unlimited. And
that's the front door. That's Dr. Carl Schleicher, a.k.a. the Smoking Man. He was in the same desk on Wisconsin Avenue for 47 years. Now, that's an alien. I was Northwest Regional Director, did everything on the West Coast. Bill Franklin, Wilbur Franklin, was in Kent State and did Midwest, and Dr. Carl Schleicher would do, Montauk and those kinds of things.
Okay,
Whenever the Navy had something they could not understand, they brought in a team.
Okay.
The newsflash was we never figured it out either.
So were you in the Navy, or were you a contractor?
I was Navy intelligence. That's different because I was a hired gun. I was a GS-18. I had top secret clearance, bolt permits, and ran volts, and that meant that I worked out of anesthesiology and would go to location with teams. And I had crews at Stanford Research Institute. I worked under Andrea Puharich. I had that was one of my teachers. And then I would do China Lake, Livermore, whatever, Battelle, Boeing. We did a lot of things in Seattle. Wayne Aho and George Adamski lived up in Arlington and were the ones that did the 1950s UFOs. That's where Marcia Moore got killed. We did a study on Marcia Moore. She was married to Moore, who was in the lab next to me doing ketamine, telepathy, and BZ studies. And it was known that ketamine would allow close encounters. And so she got a hold of some of that drug, and they called me in when they found her severed head in the Florida Everglades 2 hours before she was dead in Seattle. And that's what I used to do at Spook Central.
Now, wait. They found her severed head. Say that again?
In the Florida Everglades.
Yes.
2 hours before she was dead. That's in my workbook 1 under the Timothy Leary, and where I give little notes on the different neurologic circuits.
Well, let's just stick with that one. How is such a thing possible?
Exactly. That's why they would bring me in. Nobody could get it. How's that work? I don't know. I have theory. And I've tested and tried to understand how it works, but I never got there. I don't have a sense. I'm writing, for example, right now, today, on time travel, which is Chapter 7 in the Non-Local Mind. And I just finished up on Part 2 of the Multiverse. Now, this is where people go when they have a near-death experience or have a... what happens exactly? Sir Roger Penrose talks about structured water. Your soul is a structured water inside a microtubule. And at the moment of death, there is a 2.3 ounce weight loss, just like the Egyptians said, the Ba and the Ka. And what happens is your soul part goes back to the multiverse. What you are right now, in my model, it's a model of physics, is a cavitation ball. When a drop of water falls and hits a drum of water, a drum of water, Bessel function, what happens is you have a wave going outward, which is the future, and the wave that goes inward slaps itself and forms a cavitation ball where it captures the medium in which it's falling, and that's called a cavitation ball. And inside that, the air, whatever medium it's in, is going in a torus twistor space, which is Roger Penrose's concept of the geometric universe. He and Stephen Hawking co-authored a book together where it did point counterpoint, where Hawking does his black hole theory, and then Penrose does his torus twistor space. And at the end of the book, they come to the same conclusion. And yes, it does lead to the concept of wormholes and the idea of interstellar as it was portrayed in the movie. On my Facebook, they have rated the top 10 most scientifically correct science fiction movies in history, like 2001, Kubrick. And Doctor Strange is number 6, and Interstellar is number 7 in terms of physics and how it, best model using how they think it all works.
Let me ask you something. Does your mind ever calm down a little bit, or are you just thinking about this stuff all the time?
Yeah. Well, stay tuned on that. Sex. I got big crosses in my head. No, I am blessed and cursed. I'm firing on another level of contingent negative variation. Some of that I did for myself using experiments, and some of it I was gifted or born that way. All of us can be and do like I do. I'm not special. I'm not special at all. Sarfati is a counterpart to me out of New York. There's a couple of others. I was out of Seattle.
All right.
So, that's just, I don't know what it is. I have a eidetic memory. That means I'm a 4-year-old. It
Gotcha.
Never became 7.
Well, I love that. All right, stand by. We're going to take a little break and come right back with Dr. Richard Alan Miller. Hang on.
The latest wave of knockoff gravity filter systems utilize black elements that mimic the appearance of black Berkey elements, but these elements are less powerful. They deteriorate when filtering high levels of chemicals such as chlorine, and they produce water at an agonizingly slow rate. One element even arrives wet in a bag because if it dries out, it stops working. If you own a slow flow system, we have good news. You can upgrade to the power of black Berkey purification elements. That's because they're interchangeable with most slow flow gravity systems. These powerful purification elements filter water 8 times faster than slow flow elements. This means that by replacing 4 slow flow elements with only 2 black Berkey elements, you save a bunch and your system will produce about 4 times more water. Stop the aggravation and upgrade your system with fast flow black Berkey elements, the most powerful gravity-fed purification elements available. Get your black Berkey C2M special by ordering online at berkeywater.com/C2M or call 877-857-PURE.
All right. Little blind faith. Blind faith is necessary sometimes. The music, it really is. Winwood, Clapton, Ginger Baker, Rick Gretsch, great band. I want to tell you something real quickly about this upcoming conference. It's March 31st and then April 1st and 2nd. It's over a weekend, of course. It's at the Hilton DFW Lakes Executive Conference Center Hotel. And it is Hear the Watchman. If you want an incredible lineup of speakers, this is the event for you. I mean, do this on your own time, but do it. Go to hearthewatchman.com and then just check out there some of the amazing speakers that are going to be on that program. It's I can tell you this. I've spoken with people who have said they enjoyed it. It was life-changing. I've never spoken with anybody who said they didn't like it. They didn't like it. They wish they hadn't gone. Derek and Sharon Gilbert will be there. Pastor Paul Begley will be there. L.A. Marzulli will be there, and he'll also be on the next hour. Russ Dizdar, Michael Bodea, Josh Peck, Coach Dave, Josh Tolley, Pastor Carl Gallups, Pastor Billy Crone, Dr. Michael Lake, John Reagan, Mike Spalding, Pastor Mike Spalding, Casper McLeod, Chuck Norris' son, Mike Norris, the director of Amerigeddon. He will be there. And Lisa Haven as well, and so will I. Caravan to Midnight is the official media sponsor for this this conference, and you're going to like it a lot. So here's the deal. If you go to caravantomidnight.com, scroll down, and find the Hear the Watchman banner. If you register the event, now this is the important part. If you're hearing it now, use the promo code CTM. That's Charlie Tango Mike, CTM, and you get a $20 discount. Now, if you can't make it to Dallas for this conference, there's live streaming. And Mike Kerr has said on the program, and he's saying it through me now, that live stream is guaranteed. If for any reason you couldn't get it or the signal was wonky or whatever, he'll refund your money. He's not taking any money if you don't get the live stream. You get your money back. That's it. So go to hearthewatchman.com, click on a button that says Reserve Live Stream on Demand. It's at the top left corner. Complete the form to reserve your live stream subscription. And once that's done, you'll get an email on March 1 with the direct sign-up link for the live stream. And at that time, enter promo code CTM10, that's CTM and the number 10, to get another discount. You're going to enjoy this. And it's a month off, a little bit more, so, come on down to Dallas if you can. And here's something else. Mike and Jeannie Kerr made an announcement on our program that I have to tell. It's Caravan to Midnight, that Tuesday through Friday, television, cyber-delivered TV show is what it is. Any veteran at all gets a ticket to Hear the Watchman. Veteran, you show up, you get in. That's it. Even had a fantastic veteran named Bryce who came on Caravan to Midnight last week and donated his own ticket because he can't attend, so he wanted to donate it. And then Mike Kerr matched him with 3 or 4 more, 4 more, and then Caravan kicked in another one, which was 3 pairs. So look, these are good people, this is good stuff, and you're going to like it a lot. All right, hearthewatchman.com. Go to caravantomidnight.com, find that banner, and get yourself registered and get yourself a discount. Show up. Be good to meet you in person anyway. Now, back to Dr. Richard Allen Miller. Say, Rick, a lot of people's heads are exploding right now, but let's just...
Sorry about that.
Let's just touch on a few things because the rest of the hour is going to go so quickly. How long has the military been working on super soldiers? We're given to believe that that's a relatively recent exploration of the possibilities, but how far back does that program go?
Well, I don't know. I worked SEAL Corp out of Amherst in 1969. That was the lead-in that later became Navy SEALs. At the time I was, first hired, I thought it was a sealed on a jar. I had no clue. I did astronauts. I did individuals. Then I was asked to select a special group of men, and that was SEAL Unit 1. And the way I did it was I figured I could train them how to make a pipe bomb, anarchist cookbook, that kind of thing. That's easy. And steroids could beef them up, diet. But what I wanted was intuition. And so what I did is I measured their extrasensory perception, thinking with the gut. And when I found those guys, we started in my book, ESP, Induction Through Forms of Self-Hypnosis. That was the studies I did with Edgar Mitchell at Mission Control in 1971. we had already developed some models because I was the man that debriefed Milan Riesel when he defected from Czechoslovakia. And they had been doing studies on the relationship of altered states of consciousness where there is a place just slightly to one side of your awareness where your intuitions are like 400 times better guessing. And those people that could slide to that altered state in a quick beat are the ones that are called psychic. And they tested me in 1974, I think it was, in it was Gnosticon. It was in Llewellyn, and Duke University showed up, Grind and his group, to test us. And they brought in Gene Dixon and Sybil Leek and some others, James Hertak, John Pirkos out of Chicago. Those two I used in Mission Control with the studies with Ed Mitchell. I had met Edgar in 1970 in New York City. Dr. Stanley Krippner held a conference there, and that's where I presented the paper on, what is it, that type of, it's a type of aura thing that I've lost it, Kirlian photography. And I debunked it, showed that it was a secondary emission of electrons, and that led to another paper that I wrote that will be in a book called Spook Central that will talk about bioluminescence and medical diagnostics using electrostatic fields where you can read internal functions by the gases and other kinds of pheromone that are being released from the body. And it works. The Kirlian photography does not, it's, kind of like everybody has missions. It's just, some people can see them. There are some articles written on how the cones and rods in your eye work that make that possible. It's basically a hallucination. What you've already picked up the information, intuition, and what you're doing is trying to convert it into consciousness using one of the five senses. So that's why I call it clairascension, clairaudience, or clairvoyance. It's always in terms of one of the five senses. And precogs, same thing with time. And we did those studies in 71, but it was Milan Riesel that gave me the insight on how to relate the one to the other, and that's what we did for selecting SEAL Unit 1. We measured their ESP, and those that were very high were the ones, and you'll notice they're still alive. SEAL Unit 1 is not like the other SEAL units. They're still around.
Dr. Miller, I've got to ask you a question here. When people say trust your gut, what is it that they're trusting?
Their timeline in the future. That's how your future timeline and the cavitation ball that you're working on talks to the moment. And their memory of going back in past, so this is a type of time travel, going into memory where you reconstruct the brain in a certain hologram that was present at the time of that moment of capture. That is going back into the past. And most people confabulate because they don't get quite the same brain pattern. People with good memory can do this a little sharper, and they have a little better memory on it. The information's there. It's stored in water, the structured water. The thing is, just getting access to it. And there are tricks and drugs and other kinds of things that will sharpen your memory. I'm reminded of vasopressin. That was written by, you squirt that up your nose, and within 10 seconds you have a 25% increase in memory because of the dendrite growth that grows from resulting of that anterior pituitary hormone. There's techniques that you can do in that. The super soldier would be an individual, for example, that I would train to learn how to breathe correctly to change their perception of time. That's how you do it with breath control. And now your martial arts becomes paranormal. It's a technique that I learned from a Chan Buddhist master in my Tai Chi. And I had 18 years of Hangao before I boxed in Seattle under John Leong. That means Bruce Lee and Skip Ellsworth and Fred Williams were in the same school with me. There were only four of us in the early 50s and 60s. Not 50s, late 50s. And John Leong was our teacher. And then Bruce went down into... Fred Williams was a big Black Panther out of Tacoma that did a Shinru karate. But we all did Hangao, which is dragon form. And then I learned other forms. And then I had a Sifu that taught me a trick of how to change my doing Tai Chi, where it became literally a martial art. And that I used on SEALs. and that would be a super soldier that is using more of his thing. We used biofeedback. Back then, the single gain amplifiers were out of Bremerton, and it was a J&J Enterprises that later became John Fluke. And that single gain amplifier allowed the measuring of brainwaves and signal to noise ratio. And what we did is train them on how to do polygraph and to interrogate and be interrogated, and by controlling heart rate, pulse, respiration. Electromyograph can be used to re-straighten the spine. You just stimulate one side and the other, or muscles, and over a period of time you can reshape the body.
Really?
Yeah. This is all techniques that are used in the domiciliaries now, using Autogen biofeedback, which is military grade. What makes Autogen better than normal are the feedback options that you have. It's everybody can measure signal to noise pretty much. Now they're doing it with rosettes and things, rather back then it was silver chloride, gross things, and we in the occipital region, in the back part of the brain, visual cortex, and that part is you learn how to control brainwaves. I got so good with my studies, I could go down into a delta state and still be conscious. It took a lot of practice, and that's where the feedback mechanisms change, because when you have a learning curve, you stop at a certain level, you just can't go beyond that, and you come in with a different kind of a signal. Instead of beep, 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 you go dee, da, doo, da, doo, da. You have a different kind of a signal, and you immediately can break a learning curve and go to the next level. And we were doing that at Elmer Green and Menninger Foundation. That's where I did all the studies on Jack Schwartz and others. You don't think the military wasn't interested? This guy could stick a needle through his arm, stop the bleeding. How's that work? So that's what the Menninger Foundation did, and then it was set up with biofeedback. But it all started in Seattle in anesthesiology, and part of the Boeing company and John Fluke.
This is amazing. Look, we've got ourselves about 10 minutes. And Richard, it's not enough time, because I'm looking at ESP, induction through self-hypnosis.
You're not supposed to do those. That's for backup. That's old stuff, man.
Oh, I know, but what I'm talking about your body of work. I'm talking about your body of work, and how can people get a hold of this? How to build a sustainable life.
John, I wanted to say something too. Thank you. You saved me. You have no idea. I'm in a war with something I don't understand yet, and my sales stopped off. And so I'm encouraging, like you did, to buy directly from me, because I'm a small publishing house. I have enough books, been writing for enough years that, I got something for everybody, and they endure. That's the way I write. Classics, like the Magical and Ritual Use of Verbs. That book with Inner Traditions was done in the 70s, and it kept those 28 herbs out of the Uniform Controlled Substance Act just by assigning rituals to them.
You may be too close to something, and this may be what. Listen, I wanted to bring this up because I want to support you. I've known you many years. We've had many conversations. People love listening to you. Your books are outstanding. People go, this guy's got to be crazy. It's like, oh no, yeah, well, he's crazy like a fox. Let me tell you something. That's not the case. I know Dr. Richard Alan Miller, so I'm telling you, you've been in a war. I don't want to get into Amazon bashing here. I really don't. But
we went out. It's like, there's several Goliaths involved here, and I'm a David that could not possibly pick up a big enough rock. Even me, I don't give up.
Well, what's going on? What's going on?
I don't know. Somebody is bootlegging all my titles, and I'm not getting sales. And the books are going out. I've got 2 books that were bootlegged from Amazon Prime. So I've got Amazon down in the short and curlies. But I don't know that they're the criminal. I think that was a dupe by somebody. If you go onto Amazon, all my titles have 3 or 4 different sources you can buy it from new. How's that work? I'm literally a small mom and pop. I don't care to be a big deal, and I don't have third-party business. If you want a book, you get it from me, and it's autographed, and out it goes, and it comes directly from me, and I don't have a publisher. I did in the early years. I don't now. Nick Begich is my last publisher, and I only did that for Nick because he's the one that got me to start writing again at age 60. I had a little girl die of leukemia, and they took everything from me, and I had to reinvent myself, and so I started writing. And, it's no big deal. It's my passion and my purpose, and so it's not work. I love it. And now I'm 73 years old, and it makes me a modest living and everything, except that when in around June of last year, book sales started to drop off, and by August and September, I was zero. I haven't had a single order from Amazon in a month.
But books are going out.
I don't know. We ordered Amazon, and we got a book that was printed in 2013, and that was printed the day of the order on Amazon with 2 extra pages in it, and an address either in Lexington, Kentucky, or San Bernardino. The San Bernardino was shipped from Reno, and that's Amazon Prime. I've got them doing illegal and bootleg. But I it may not be Amazon. It may be one of these people that are on Amazon advertising. See, I don't know. And every time I try to vet something, and I'm really good at this, it's so convoluted. I got Lightning Source, and I asked for all my ISBN numbers. They gave them to me. But I'm seeing other ISBN numbers on my title of my books.
Oh, dear.
Like, for example, on Amazon, The Modern Alchemist is being sold by Fanes Press. They're out of business. That when he went back to graduate school, he sold his business to Don Weiser, and I took over The Modern Alchemist. I have 2 ISBNs on it. The first one was when I did a major printing, and the second one is when I went to print on demand. And they're 2 different editions. And those are 2 ISBNs that I have, and there's 6 different ISBNs out there. And I can't, for the life of me, figure out who's doing what. And Lightning Source won't tell. They have plausible deniability. They're just in for the print. Now, Lexington is not Tennessee, which is where Lightning Source is. But Ingram or Amazon are huge. Yeah. And those machines, I have one in Denver that I'm using as an alternative because Lightning Source no longer wants my business because I'm asking too many questions. That happened to me. I have a lawyer. He went to their lawyer. That lawyer came back with the information we requested, and guess what? It doesn't have the information I need in it. Now, that means they're using AIs. That means they've profiled me and know what I'm going to do probably 28 minutes before I do. And I can't figure this out yet. I will, but right now it's depressing me and it's affecting my personal life. And so I'm asking people that if you want my books, come directly to my website and I'll autograph them. Anything you get from me is autographed, and I throw extra things in there because I appreciate the support. I really do.
Now, what is the preferred website for you?
You can, my primary is richardallenmiller.com, and I have a bookstore /shop. That is also oak-publishing.com, or you can go to Facebook at docram.com and go to my bookstore from there. I'll take you directly to my bookstore. Yeah.
Okay, now.
That's how you do it, yeah. What? Or you can send a check, or you can, I don't do credit cards. I'm a small mom and pop. I don't want to be a big deal. What I want to do is be mine, and you get my books from me.
All right. So it's richardallenmiller.com /what?
/shop.
Okay, all right, shop. I put in store, and that didn't
shop.
get it.
I don't know, store. Yeah,
No, there they are.
I did shop, yeah.
All right, now, what is the latest book?
I'm working right now on The Non-Local Mind in a Holographic Universe, How to Change the Movie. This sequel's Power Tools for the 21st Century, which were the 8 protocols I developed for Navy SEAL to make them Supermen. There are 3 workbooks that accompany that thing. There's 2 out, and the 3rd one I'm writing right now, and will also be out shortly. I have also, to circumvent this BS with Amazon, trying to sell my books cheaper than I can. What I've done is grouped my books into categories like herbs, and I can get Books of the Mind, which is Modern Alchemist and ESP, for a discount. You can get all 3 Power Tools and the 2 workbooks for a discount. You can get my agriculture books for discount. I've written books. I have a 9-volume encyclopedia of alternative agriculture on all the work I did in agriculture this last 30 years. And it's 9 volumes. And it's an ebook. And you can get that from my website. It's inexpensive for 9 volumes. It's a compendium of pretty much everything. And now I am coming out with a huge amount of audiobooks. And everybody wanted audio. So I went back years ago in 1990. Mark Hume hired me to set up the Metaphysical Library when PC Link was turning into AOL. And I taught I went through the well in San Francisco as the bulletin board out of Grants Pass here. And I worked with Humboldt University as IES, Interactive Educational System, 1990. By 1993, that course I taught was accredited in universities, and Dr. Mack himself took that course, and that led him, graduate level, that took him into his alien abduction series and studies that I helped him with. I was there in Homestead, Florida, when Liz Kuttner was abducted, and so I've got data on what's going on and how that works. But anyway, Mac took that, and what I have is 15 8-week courses I did in metaphysics back then that are now in ebooks, and that's eight hours for each one with questions and answers. And then I had technical papers that were posts to support that, and those are ebooks, and then audiobooks, and then I have questions, in groups of areas. Like UFO has maybe 50 or 60 people asking questions and my responses. And so there'll be about 20 or 30 audiobooks on that. Hey, yeah.
I got to ask you this now. We've got a bunch of people in the chat room, and I didn't give you a shout out yet, and I'm sorry. Hi, everybody in the chat. But some people want to know if for international sales, can you take a Western Union?
I've never done that. I don't know. I don't know how it works. Western Union is a lot of the way Ghana and the African countries rip us left and right. So yeah, probably. Most people just send a personal check, convert it, or wire.
International money order, something like that.
What's that?
International money order probably work.
Oh yeah, anything will work. Yeah, I'm good. And I appreciate that. There's an error on my website for international sales where they get away with $24.99. I shipped 12 books to Singapore last week, and it cost me $66, and he only paid $25 for the postage. So, I'm putting a rate table in it. I'm going to try to stop that nonsense. But that's what the support I'm getting is a lot of people want all my books because every single one is like the way I responded on witchcraft or whatever you'd like. Whatever you'd like to know, I'm there. And I can't explain how I do that. It's just, what do you want to know?
That's it. Listen, Savant sent a message. It's intelligence tracking readers that's doing this, and I'm down to just about 5 seconds. Dr. Richard Allen Miller, God bless you. I'll be in touch. Get you back on CTM shortly. We got to go. Thanks, sir.
Sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, stand by. We'll be back.
Are you and your family spiritually and physically prepared for the battle ahead? Announcing Hear the Watchman, Dallas, March 31st through April 2nd. Join me, John B. Wells, Pastor Paul Begley, Pastor Billy Crone, Pastor Carl Gallups, L.A. Marzulli, Russ Dizdar, Derek and Sharon Gilbert from Skywatch TV, Josh Peck, Lisa Haven, Josh Tolley, John Reagan, Mike Norris, and more. Hear the Watchman returns to Dallas for a transformative weekend of unfolding prophetic events, revival, worship, and restoration. We stand at the edge of eternity and the clock is ticking, so reserve your seat now before they're gone. Come join the remnant body of Christ at the DFW Hilton Lakes Executive Conference Center for a powerful weekend that will open your heart and change your world. Visit caravantomidnight.com to reserve your seat today. Limited seating available. That's caravantomidnight.com to make your reservations now. Use promo code CTM and save $20 off the published purchase price. Be there and hear the Watchman.
All right. I just thought, you know what we do. You know what I used to do on Coast to Coast? Somebody pointed this out. Not only did somebody actually write an article that said, John B. Wells plays the best bumper music ever. And he also plays a long enough piece of it that the artists actually get paid for it. Because most people pay, I play like, I don't know, 5 seconds or something like that, just a little taste. Just a little taste. But, and ain't it the truth? It's all about let's work together. I mean, seriously, it is. Oh, I know. Did you roll your eyes? Stop that. It is all about working together. Let me tell you a little bit about Caravan to Midnight. I need to do this. And by the way, you heard that here, the Watchman spot. But I got to tell you something. I didn't want to just roll over you with data there. But, because that happens. But listen, we've got some tickets to donate. We really do. If you would really like to go to Hear the Watchman in Dallas, March 31 and April 1 and 2, then hit us with an email at radio@caravantomidnight.com. radio@caravantomidnight.com. And just tell us why you'd like to have the ticket, or if you want to nominate somebody else to have the ticket, tell us about that, and we're going to get you hooked up. It really is all about working together, bringing people in, and only driving out the people who are, I'm serious about this, if we can't turn them around and get them to stop being destructive, we'll entertain any idea, no matter how ridiculous it is, until we reach that point where it's like, okay, this is not just ridiculous, this is stupid. And then we won't do it. We look around each other, we're in agreement, yeah, it's stupid, we're not going to do it. But other than that, we're very inclusive. We're ever so inclusive. And so let me tell you some of the people, if you're not a member of Caravan, let me tell you some of the people that you've missed long conversations with. And by the way, full-length music cuts, no commercials, stuff like that. Somebody said, you need to pull back on your commercials a little bit, dude. And the response was, well, dude, it's terrestrial radio and we do commercials, okay? That's how it is in this realm. I mentioned Philip Jordan. Timothy Noakes, Professor Timothy Noakes, Paul Preston, and Patrick Wood. And I'm counting back from episode 696. Right? All right. Paul Preston and Patrick Wood came in on Wednesday. Wolfgang Halbig and Mike and Jeannie Kerr came in on episode 693 on Tuesday. Okay, and then Kevin Shipp, already told you about that. John Rappaport and Andrew Kerr came on last Thursday, a week ago Thursday, on the 16th. John Rappaport, he is French, I think. It must be Rappaport, huh? Here's one little tidbit. 25% of all the students on the campuses of our colleges and universities are either being treated for or have been diagnosed with some form of mental illness. Our colleges and universities are actually turning into little mind control centers. They put me wise to that back a long time ago when I was told, we don't teach academics here, we teach attitudes. Oh, yeah. And Jackson, Andy Hoffman, Pastor David Manning, the one who said Obama failed, the guy up in Harlan, that's the guy. On Valentine's Day, we did Dr. D. Lindsay Bergson. We did Tatiana Moroz. Stephen Ben-Danoon from Israeli News Live, and then Chris Kortlander. You heard him last weekend on Arc Midnight. So look, join us. It's good. It's good stuff. $60 a year gets you 696 episodes just now. We'll hit 700 next week. Okay, next Friday we're going to hit episode 700. I mean, this is the best money that you will spend because you're not going to hear this stuff anywhere else. I know everybody says that, but you're not going to hear this stuff anywhere else. You really won't. So remember what I said earlier about the donated tickets, radio@caravantomidnight.com. And now, let's talk with the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, here on Arc Midnight, L.A. Marzulli. Welcome aboard, my friend.
Hey, man, great to be here. Good to hear your voice.
Well, it's good to hear yours, too. I'm looking forward to this Hear the Watchman thing. It's going to be astounding, just like it was last year.
Yeah, I think they're going to sell out. People always wait till the last minute, and then there's this huge rush, but that's just how people are, and that's okay. But I would get your tickets early because you can only seat so many people. But then there's always the live streaming that they're going to do. I mean, the lineup's incredible, some great speakers, and even though it's a mixed bag, a lot of different opinions, and that's okay. It gets people thinking.
I don't really know where to start with you tonight because we can start almost anywhere. I mean, you are an intrepid researcher. You're a prolific writer. You're an amazing documentary maker. And I met you back on Coast to Coast we were discussing your book, The Cosmic Chess Maps. That's been years ago. And, and so you got something going on now that you don't really want to talk about because you got it going on and it's new. And if you don't, and if you go, yeah, that'll be a good enough answer. And then we can go to the thing that's the most recent that you do want to talk about.
Well, yeah, what I'm working on is the Watchmen Chronicles. It's a new DVD series. It's my first standalone film, and it's actually going on Monday to the Duplicator. So basically, the film is done. I put some finishing touches on it today. A friend of mine, Gonzo Shimura, and we shared my computer screen, and we just kind of went over the whole film. It's an hour and 36 minutes. It's on UFOs, but the overarching theme of it is in their own words. In other words, because I travel and go to all these places and meet all these people, the idea popped into my head, oh my gosh, people have stories. And I remember asking a group of people, I was down at a very large church down in Alabama, I think it was, and there's about 1,000 people in the audience. And I asked them, I said, how many of you have seen a UFO, lights in the sky, had an encounter, raise your hand? And about 30% of the audience raised their hand. And this is about 2.5, 3 years ago. And I remember looking at that and going, oh my gosh, these people are sitting in the church and no one talks about it. I mean, it's almost like a taboo subject. And so I started asking that wherever I went. And as a low, 5%, an absolute low, a high percentage would be 35%. So that was sort of a nexus of the film. And these people come on the record in their own words. That's why the title. About the UFO phenomenon, and we've got some startling interviews. I mean, one couple, and just a complete bomb dropped on me when they emailed me and said that they had information regarding Roswell. And, we've heard this before, and it's like, okay, so what's the connection? And the connection was this couple knew this man by the name of Colonel Hill. And Hill was intelligence, OSS, back in World War II. And he died in, I think, 2001, 2002. He was 90 years old. Wow. So it all fits. And these people knew him in the last year or two of his life and would visit him almost daily. So there was a real relationship there. And about a month before he died, now get this, a month before he died, the woman whose name is Carolyn and her husband, Jim and Carolyn, come on the record, but Carolyn said, sort of out of the blue, like, well, what about Roswell? Because they knew he was intelligence and they knew he was, military and the whole deal. And the guy had like 4 degrees and he was really smart and really intelligent. And I guess, in the course of the conversation, what about this? What about that? Anyway, so Roswell came up and she asked him, was it a weather balloon? And this is all on film. And in fact, at the beginning of the interview, her husband, Jim, looks at the camera and basically states this, that what we're about to tell you is true. Okay, so anybody can say anything. I'm a pretty good student of body language, and you can be the judge of that yourself when you look at the interview and they're looking right at the camera. I mean, they're not. She's telling a story, and she's not adding anything to it, not elaborating. In my opinion, this is what she's just laying out the facts, and you can see that she's very relaxed. And in my opinion, both of them are very upright in telling the truth. So anyway, she asked Colonel Hill, "What about Roswell? Was it really a weather balloon?" And according to her testimony, he kind of drops his head like this and then picks it up and looks her dead in the eye and said, it wasn't a weather balloon. And from there, he elaborates. Now, remember, a month later, this guy passes from this planet. It's almost like he's carrying this thing around with him forever. He's got some immediate family. We don't know. I have a friend of mine who's a researcher and sort of like he heads up probe investigations, and I had him try to chase this guy down. I mean, he's got nothing. I mean, we can't even get a picture on him. We know where he stayed. We know he's real. We know that. But I mean, it's like, as far as family, I mean, my investigator tried to get next to kin, all this stuff. I mean, the guy's almost like a ghost, and I guess that's why these people were. Jim and Carolyn got close to him. Maybe he had no one towards the end of life. And so here he was burdened down with this information that he carried literally for decades. I mean, Roswell was 47, now 2002. So he's burdened with this thing. He's carried it around for decades. And apparently, because he was an interrogator, according to their testimony, he was at Dallas Fort Worth when the crash was reported. And he arrived on the scene, I would guess, within 24 to 48 hours after this thing sort of hit the paper, went public, where Jesse Marcel found it and reported it. Within 24 hours to 48 hours, they're not sure of the time frame, but he was flown to Roswell from Dallas Fort Worth. And by the way, this is an exclusive on your show. No one's heard this before. So, you talked about at the break that no one hears stuff like this. Well, it's true, because you're hearing it first. No one has heard this story. And so they're, Colonel Hill flies out to Roswell, and he tells Jim and Carolyn on the record, they're giving the testimony, but he tells them, and they're relating it to me on film, that when he got there, there were two bodies. Now, we've heard other people from Roswell talking about different, how many bodies, from 2 to 4 to 5. I mean, it's all over the map. I get that. But knowing the way intelligence works, things could have been compartmentalized. In other words, he might have only seen two. One was dead, the other one was alive. And according to the testimony of Carolyn, Colonel Hill said he tried to communicate with it. He touched it. He laid hands on it, tried to communicate with the thing. And what was really startling, it's a typical gray, under 5 feet, very small, long arms, gray skin. It had a one-piece jumpsuit on. And then she says something which I don't think I've ever heard before. Now, it's somebody else may have said this, I don't know. But she asked him, it's like, well, what were some of the physical attributes which differentiate the alien, the creature, from, let's say, human beings? And he hung his head for a moment, picked it back up, raised his hand, and said they had 6 fingers instead of 5. What's interesting is if you go online and start snooping around, there are pictures, and who knows whether they're fake. I mean, there's no way to tell. I was going to use it in the film, but I decided against it because I couldn't trace where it was from. And anything like that could be photoshopped. It could be created in After Effects. I mean, who knows? So I didn't go with the picture. But what it showed was a military, some guy in a military uniform holding what looked like plates in his hand. And on the hand were 2 handprints, and of course there were 6 fingers. And the idea was somehow this was related to a downed UFO. So, look, I mean, people have to make with that information what they will. I found it extremely compelling, and this is a first on Caravan. I mean, it blew me out of the water when they were telling me the story. I mean, it really did. It was pretty amazing. And you know what? This guy, there was a letter that they had there, which I photographed, which is in the film, signed by Colonel Hill. So, I mean, there it is. I mean, they had a paper trail and some other things, which I can't get into. I wasn't allowed to talk about that on film, but they showed me some other things. So this guy was real. And again, I had my friend Tom Eubanks from Probe Investigations sort of, probe around, no pun intended, and dig up what he could on this guy. And we know where he spent the last days of his life, and that corroborated Jim and Carolyn's story. So it all fits together. But, the bottom line is, how many times have we heard this from whistleblowers, deathbed confessions about Roswell? So here's another one that is basically, 2017. This was recorded early this year, actually, in January, is when I recorded the testimony of Jim and Carolyn. And, they've been walking around with this since basically 2001, 2002, when Colonel Hill was alive. And this is an exclusive story in their own words, the Watchmen Chronicles. So that gives you an idea of what you're going to see when you purchase the DVD. And by the way, tonight is the last night of our special. Shameless plug, but when you go to thewatchmenchronicles.com, thewatchmenchronicles.com, you get 2 DVDs plus the free book, Further Evidence, all for $24.95. The reason why we're trying to do this, John, is we're trying to get the word out to people that the phenomenon is real. You know, interestingly enough, just this last week on the Drudge Report, they had a story which I linked and did my own YouTube PPS report, which I do pretty much an update 5 days a week, and you can go to L.A. Marzulli on YouTube and check those out. But they're all updates, and the one was UFO sightings at an all-time high.
Yeah. And
they had the graph and the whole deal. You know, it's pretty much flatlined for 20, 30 years ago, and all of a sudden it just starts peaking, and it's definitely on the rise. And you know what? Some of the questions, and I asked you this when I interviewed you for the film, but I also asked other people about the idea of disclosure. And we cover that in the film. Many of us that travel with this, and obviously you do, and all the caravanners are up to date with this stuff. I honestly feel disclosure is around the corner. I'm not a date setter here, and I've been wrong before, and I'm not saying, you know, this is what's going to happen, absolutely. I'm not saying that. But I really think that we're on the cusp of something, that they can't keep the secret under wraps forever. And the fact that a guy like Colonel Hill, you know, his guy's OSS in the beginning, and then obviously later CIA. I mean, you're taking oaths and everything else, but he knows he's on his way out, and he's burdened down with this thing, and he has to tell somebody. And so we told them. So I find it fascinating. I think the story on Drudge Report last week was what I would call soft disclosure. The kind of letting that out. What does anybody do? No one cares, and that's what's amazing. No one's going to care until the mile-wide craft shows up, or you know, two UFOs land on the White House lawn or whatever,
right.
And then everybody's going to be going, "Oh my gosh, now what?"
Yeah, you know, I really get the sense, L.A., that people are ready for this. It's almost like the man going to 90 years old and going, "Listen, I got to get this off my chest." Now he's done it, so he takes his last long breath and checks out of here and just got it off his chest. Maybe that was the last thing he really felt he had to do before he could comfortably split. He might have gone on to 95 just to get that thing off his chest. You know what I mean? But I get I get the sense that people are ready for this. I think we've been conditioned enough. And you know, look, psychological operations they're not what people think they are. They come in very sophisticated forms, and they come in really backward, simplistic forms as well. But like those Mars pictures, remember when the first ones came back, the color pictures, and it's like, oh, look, it's the red planet. Okay, yeah, I get it. And then the later pictures were like, okay, let's go ahead and just take the tint off of these, and let's just show them what color it really is. And you do see stuff lying around all over the place, and it does look like something bad happened up there. There's stuff lying around up there that I know we've all seen stuff. You know, somebody claimed that, oh, look, it's a UFO parked over there, and it turns out it's just a pool. It was just a trick of the camera and the light. No big deal. But some of those objects that are lying around up there on the surface of Mars do not look naturally occurring to me at all. They look like the shredded remnants of something that was manufactured somewhere. So maybe they're getting us ready for this. I mean, maybe all these, maybe these pictures like Interstellar and others, and Oblivion, the cruise picture. Maybe this has all been just getting us ready. Because right now, I personally don't think very many people would freak out if somebody said, okay, a really nice looking, say it's gold, a UFO landed on the White House lawn and wanted to see President Trump right now. I think people would be really more happy about it. I'm beginning to think people are sick of people, and they're ready to entertain some personalities from off planet, as it might be.
Well, I think the planet is poised for something. Remember, before the year 2000, the planet was not wired together the way it is now.
Right.
And what's amazing is the planet is wired together. We have a grid of satellites. And we can, when they fire up the grid, and they do that. The last time I really saw it fired up was Fukushima, when the 9.1 earthquake happened off the coast of, Fukushima, and basically they really lit the grid up for that. I mean, it was a worldwide event. In America, you watched the tidal wave come in real time. I mean, 3-second delay? You watched the tidal wave come in real time. Unprecedented. That's never happened before. And so the whole deal with Y2K got everybody wired up. I mean, isn't that wonderful? A classic, in my opinion, and I realize I got my tinfoil hat on for this, but in some ways it's a classic Hegelian dialectic. It's like, move, counter-move, synthesis type of thing. And that's exactly what they did. And they got the grid wired up. So where everything is wired together, where it wasn't really before Y2K. When I go down to Peru, it never ceases to amaze me how I can take a stupid little plastic card and stick it in one of their machines down there, and I get money. It's not this big, long, drawn-out thing. It happens just as fast down there as it happens up here in America. How does that work?
Yeah.
Because everything is beaming off the satellite. So it's, we're not talking cable. We're talking satellite.
Yeah.
That's how fast everything is. I think, look, when something happens, it will be a global event, and that's what people don't get. They will fire up the grid, and it will become a global event where everybody, I call it a mega lever in the sense that when this thing happens, everything changes. I mean, it's a mega lever. People's consciousness, everyone's paradigm together just goes shift like that.
That's why I played that Canned Heat song earlier, man.
Yeah.
We're going to have to work together on this. We're already working together and don't even know it. Look, hold everything. We're going to take ourselves a little break here. And when we come back, I want to ask you if you have any insights into what's going on in Antarctica, the place that supposedly it's a no-go zone. Nothing can go on there. It's no-go in Antarctica. And yet there are all kinds of research teams down there. And Buzz Aldrin went down there, got sick, and had to be evacuated. And what's John Kerry down there? And I just want to know, if we come back from this break and you go, John, I don't know a thing about it, it'll be like letting the air out of my balloon, and I know he's not going to do that. So we'll be right back. This is Arc Midnight. Stand by. We'll be right back. Oh, yeah, I like Eric Church. He's good. He's got attitude, don't you think? And, who knows, if the UFO does land on the White House lawn, maybe that's, I got a feeling that the whole world is going to say, I think it's time to drink a little drink, smoke a little smoke, I mean, what else, man? The UFO guys are here. There's no point in going to work, really. That will be one of those day the earth stood still things. I'm going to stand still right here and drink a little drink, smoke a little smoke, and look at the UFO on TV. That's what I'm going to do. All right. Hey, this is Arc Midnight. Thank you so much for being with us. And listen, I got to give a shout out before we get back on with L.A. Marzulli, and it's to everybody who has supported Caravan to Midnight for these 3 years past, and we're entering our 4th year now. I repeat, we're up to almost 700 programs, and it is the members of Caravan to Midnight that make this program possible. None of the big chemical companies say, you can't do that. And look, I don't expect you to take the plunge necessarily without knowing a little something, so go to our YouTube channel. It's just John B. Wells. And it's the one that's got 40-some-odd thousand subscribers, 50,000 subscribers. If it's just got a few numbers, there are a couple of bootleg sites out there, so go to the one and you'll see our stuff. We post the news segment of Caravan to Midnight every day. And take a listen to the one on Friday. I'll give you a little hint. There's nothing illegal whatsoever about the mainstream media giving you disinformation. There was a court case. This couple were asked at a Fox station to do a story on bovine growth hormone. They came back and said, this stuff's bad news. Well, it just so happens that Monsanto makes that product. And the station management was all excited about it until I guess they got a call and they said, tweak it to go like this. And we're not tweaking it to make it sound like it's all right. It's not all right. They were both fired. The man and woman, Akers and Wilson, I believe were their names. And Akers was the woman and Wilson was the man. She got $425,000, which they later reversed themselves and took the money back. Wilson said, even though he was doing the same job, did the same thing, that he wasn't entitled to anything. So now the bottom line is, what they tell you is a matter of policy. It is not a matter of regulation, not in any way, shape, or form. They will spin it as long as they got money coming in from unnamed sources for new gear, low interest or no interest loans, all of this. Fake news is everywhere. And it was a Fox affiliate station. I'm not saying it was Fox News. It wasn't. It was a Fox affiliate station. But that's just how it is. So, you want the real news, you come to caravantomidnight.com. And there's some other people out there doing it, but they don't do it like we do it. God bless them. I want them in the fight with us too. But we're the tip of the lance. and a lot of people say so. So go to our YouTube channel and take a look. And if you like it, join us. You'll be glad you did. We're a family. You'll be treated like a family member, too. Okay, now, Mr. Martin wants to ask a question, which I alluded to before the break, of Mr. L.A. Marzulli. And by the way, Norman, I hear you're listening for the first time tonight. Shout out to you. L.A., I understand Steve Quayle is all over this thing in Antarctica. And like I said earlier, Quayle's there. Kerry, Mr. My face really looks like this. And also Buzz Aldrin went down there too and had to leave. What's going on in Antarctica, where it's a no-go zone? No one goes there, except everybody's going there. What's up?
Well, I'm actually reading Steve's book, and I'll be joining him and Timothy Alberino on our Peru trip, and I can't wait for that. It's going to be a real, just a hoot. I think it's sold out. So unfortunately, there's no more room. But, Steve wrote a book, Empire Under the Ice, and I'm wading through that now. And a lot of it, a lot of the research and my research and his research, it overlaps definitely. Look, I've been studying the Nazis since I was a kid, and I know Steve has too. And I know, this is all documented, that Nazis were very, very interested in Antarctica, and specifically in the Schwabenland, where they had a base there. Isn't it interesting that in 2016, the television series on the History Channel, Hunting Hitler, got legs, and these guys were down in Los Angeles building a CIA office down in Los Angeles with what were up to that point highly classified documents regarding Martin Bormann, Adolf Hitler, Joseph Mengele, the whole crew.
All those guys survived the war. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all there. And what's amazing about this is they show the document with, the black magic marker going through the verbiage. I get all that. And all of a sudden, it just magically disappears. It's the redaction becomes unredacted. It's like not there anymore. And you can read what's going on. And this is what's amazing, how no one says anything, because there's been a break in the school system where the kids aren't taught anymore. They have no idea of history. I remember sitting down and asking someone, a snowflake, someone under 30, well, what is the definition of a fascist? And all they could say was Hitler? That's it. So that's Hitler somehow is a fascist.
No, they say Trump now.
Yeah, well, now they say Trump. They're clueless because there's been a break in education. And I think that's deliberate, where the children now are indoctrinated in a certain ideology. They're not taught to think. But I digress. The bottom line is this: this program states unequivocally that, according to their research and according to the documents that they revealed on the show from CIA files, Hitler escaped the bunker. That was a double.
Absolutely,
we know some of that. Yeah, we know some of that because when they finally, after Glasnost and Perestroika, and they were able to go in there and look at the skull, there was a woman's skull, and it was like, okay, so what happened to good old Adolf? He probably got to Spain first, from Spain submarine down into Argentina,
Patagonia,
Chile, the whole deal.
Harry Cooper knows exactly where he was, man. He's got pictures of his little ranch house down there and everything.
Exactly. So the bottom line was, he was alive. He was alive. And no one, John B., nobody cares. This show is incredible, in my opinion. Nobody cares. This guy is the arch villain of the 20th century. Actually, Stalin should be, because Stalin killed a lot more people than Hitler did. And he killed his own people. Go figure. Right?
Yeah, well, we don't have a Kennedy. Brother, they don't have a Kennedy memorial that I know of anywhere in Dallas, except maybe down there by Dealey Plaza and that. But we named the freeway LBJ.
Go figure.
And another one named Bush.
Go figure, but nothing about good old JFK, right?
No.
And when I saw you, of course, we went back down there. It's like my third, fourth, fifth time down at the kill site, and there's something about it. They haven't changed it. They've kept it that one block in Dealey Plaza. They've kept it the way it was in 1963. They haven't changed a thing. When you're there, it's like going back in time. It's really strange.
Except for the grade of the road. Except for the grade of the road. It used to slope a little more,
Yeah, it's just. Anyway, but I digress. In my opinion, something's going on in Antarctica. What it is anybody's guess. Did they find a pyramid? Did they find evidence of a lost civilization?
That's what
Did
they're saying.
Find weaponry and tools that would just change everything? Nothing would surprise me at this point. Yeah. Nothing would surprise me. And look, I'm a student of the arcane like you are, and you get to the whole Piri-Reis map thing, and if that's a hoax, it's a very clever one. But it seems like the Piri-Reis map is real, and it shows Antarctica as a landmass without the ice. So now we're into some really freaky stuff. So, look, the Nazis were down there. We know that. Then you get the whole Admiral Byrd thing, and, these kind of stories drive me crazy because it's Admiral Byrd's diary and all this stuff. And to the best of my knowledge, no one has ever really done due diligence to try to track any of this down. Surely Admiral Byrd has relatives that are alive today. We need to go and talk to them and find out really what's going on with this. What they might know. And, I only have so many hours of a day, and I haven't done that. But somebody needs to do that. I mean, that's what research is about. You've got to get out in the field and, because, the same stuff is perpetrated on the net over and over and over again. Admiral Byrd's diary. He got down there and he saw a flying disc, and it's the whole Nazi UFO thing. And that all may be true. I don't know. And but there's no way to really vet it, and that's the problem. There's no way to vet it. Something is going on down there because you just don't go down to Antarctica on a little sightseeing trip. You just don't do that. And John Kerry went down there, and the astronaut went down there. And I know apparently Pope Francis allegedly told, I think, the head of the either Greek or Russian Orthodox Church to go down to Antarctica. Look, the powers that be know something is up. They do. And myself, a student of the arcane, and the things that are going on that aren't reported, like the Nephilim and UFOs, and the fact that megalithic structures exist on the planets which shouldn't be there. I've always been interested in the Fatima apparitions, and I'm going someplace with this. So Fatima today or this year will be the 100th anniversary. October 13th will be the 100th anniversary of the Fatima apparitions. I wrote about this in my book, Politics, Prophecy, and the Supernatural. I'm trying to do a second edition of the book and get it out in the fall, and then it really expand the Fatima section because it is the 100-year anniversary. And for those of you who don't know what it was, in 1917, 3 children, and remember, 1917, there's no TV, okay, folks? No TV, no internet, no satellite stuff. You got telegraph, and this is like out in the boonies, all right? You got radio, you got some telegraph stuff, but this is Fatima, Portugal, 1917, and these kids are basically sheep herders. And they're out there in this little small town in Portugal, and this lady in a very short dress holding some sort of a spear in her hand and communicates with them telepathically and says she's from the sky, not heaven, from the sky. And this whole thing just gets convoluted, and they go back and they say, we saw this woman and she communicated with us and all this stuff. And the village is in an uproar, and other people have sightings of this thing, but apparently they don't tell it, and so they don't go through what these kids go through. They actually spend time in jail, and it got to the point where every day on the 13th of the month, the apparition would come and they would meet her, and the crowds grew. And so the clergy and the politicians and the mayor and everybody else said, look, we need a sign from this so-called woman, this lady, whoever she may be. And so the kids went back and said, we need a sign. And so the apparition said the following month, on October 13th at noon, there would be a sign. 70,000 people gather from the surrounding area at this place in Fatima, Portugal. And it's raining. And there's black and white photos. I mean, I really did some study on this. I spent a lot of time researching Fatima. And there's a book by D'Amato and, I can't think of the other guy's name, Barbarossa. And they wrote several books. One is called Heavenly Lights. And I spoke to these guys. They're over in Portugal. And they really went back in and got to look at some of the eyewitness statements. But I'm getting ahead of myself of what happened on October 13th, 1917. And so they're out there, 70,000 people, and it's raining, and there's black and white photos of all this stuff. And there's photos of the children and the crowd, and all of a sudden, 12 o'clock comes and nothing happens, and people start getting restless. By 1 o'clock, so now it's an hour late, the children go, there she is, there she is. The people see some sort of a light which seems to travel and settle over this tree where this apparition met them. But they don't see anything, but the kids do, and they immediately fall into what only can be described as ecstasy. And as they're doing this, people look up, and the testimony is from numerous witnesses. We looked up and saw a dull, and I'm not making this up, a dull silver disc that danced in front of the sun.
Oh, no.
Other people thought it was the sun. And this thing began to move and undulate, and it fell to earth. And when it started to come to earth, people thought it was the end of the world. Get this. People were healed. People's clothes were instantly dried, and then this thing went away. So, I mean, I really chased this thing down. I mean, I was talking to people up in Canada. There's a guy up there called the Fatima Crusader. He's part of the Catholic, I think he's a Monsignor or a priest. I'm not sure what rank he is. I remember calling them up there going, do you have any pictures of the so-called miracle of the sun? And I was assured that, yes, we had pictures, and I would get them in a week or two. And so I called back, and there were no pictures. That's cut to the chase. They have no pictures, and there are no pictures. There's pictures of the event before and afterwards, but nothing of the actual so-called miracle of the sun. And
that's the way it always is.
That this was a harbinger of deception. So what's interesting, and I tell that story because I want to get into Antarctica, the Catholic Church has distanced themselves from what they used to call the miracle of Fatima. Now, we'll see what the current Pope does with it this year because it's the 100th anniversary. But Benedict was the protege of John Paul II. And John Paul II, revealed the so-called secret, the third secret of Fatima, which had never been revealed. And some people just said, well, this just sounds totally bogus. And then when John Paul died, Ratzinger became Pope Benedict, and he distanced himself from Fatima, which is really bizarre. This current Pope doesn't say doodly squat about it. The reason why I think the powers that be, this gets back into the Antarctica thing, the powers that be, the elites, the shadow government, and you stated on the record with me on film that Satan controls this planet. And when we say that name, we're not talking some guy in a red devil suit with a pitchfork. No. We're talking about a very, very malevolent and extremely powerful entity, highly malevolent. And I think they've distanced themselves from this because they realized that what happened at Fatima was not the Mary of the Bible. It was something else. It was a harbinger of deception. It was, in fact, what we now call a UFO. Back then, 1917, they called it a dull silver disc because there was UFO and flying saucer was not part of the vernacular. It wasn't part of a lexicon. Those terms would only come and midway through or, to the latter part of the 20th century, were those flying saucer UFO. That's a term we now use, a generic term we use now collectively, but back then it wasn't used.
That's right. Dull
silver disc is used over and over again. I think there's something there. I think something's going on, and this gets back into disclosure. It gets back into lost civilizations. It gets back into the megalithic structures. I visited many of them, certainly in Peru. They're here in North America. I'm actually going to Cahokia Mountains this year. Can't wait to do that and go check out Cahokia. I've never been there. It's the largest mountain in North America. The archaeologists insist that Native Americans built this thing in over 100 years. I say nonsense. I don't think they did it at all. Just like the Great Circle Mound in Newark, Ohio, and other places. When you go down to Peru and you stand before Sacsayhuaman and you look at these huge megalithic stones weighing 120 tons, 50 tons, 80 tons, and everything else in between, placed with absolute precision. How was that done? And all you can get from the modern day archaeology, the Inca were master builders. No, they weren't. They weren't master builders at all. So I've been there, and I know what they do. They work with with stone that's right there in front of them. This is andesite quarried from 40 or 50 miles away. Nonsense. There's a hidden history on this planet which has been deliberately obfuscated from the people because it points to something else. And I think the powers that be are about to reveal that, and perhaps that's what Antarctica is about.
Maybe they don't have any choice in the matter. Just to support your points, not that you need any, but Paul Manning went to South America in furtherance of meeting Martin Bormann. I started getting into this back in the first part of the turn of the new century, reading this book, Martin Bormann, Nazi in Exile, and what a book it is. Well, it was written by Paul Manning. He was a Cronkite contemporary. He was a correspondent back in World War II. What happens is, and I wish I could remember which guest on Caravan to Midnight said this, but he said, John, and it was just an aside. It was sort of just an adjunct to what we were talking about. He said, Manning went down there to meet Bormann. But at the last minute, Bormann's people said, no, we're not doing it. And he didn't get to meet him. He said, however, he did meet Eva Braun. Yeah. Wow. She outlived Adolf by a few years. Wow. Now let me ask you this. We're getting so short. How I wish I had 2 more hours. Can we not preempt the next show? I'm just kidding. Okay, look, but what's going on with the elongated skull people and the Nephilim and trying to get that DNA out of South America, and they won't let it go, and what's up?
We're waiting. It's gone through all sorts of bureaucratic hoops, and we're just basically waiting. And we've got probably upwards of 30 samples down there that have gone through all sorts of stuff. We've got 2 major DNA labs ready to go on this thing.
Yeah.
We are also, for those of you who are listening, we are also looking for a geneticist. If anyone out there is hearing this, that is a geneticist. Why? Because we've already done some samples, preliminary samples that we were allowed to take from a private museum in Paracas, Senior Juan's Museum. We were allowed to take samples out of that. We've got data from that, a lot of data, but no one to analyze it. And I'm not a geneticist. I certainly can't analyze the data. So if anyone out there is a geneticist that wants to hop on board, it's a paid position. By whatever, we'll work something out. Email me at la@lamarzulli.net if you're a geneticist, because we're looking for one.
All right, my friend. All right, now, very quickly, tell us about the pre-order on the Watchmen Chronicles.
Well, I really appreciate that. Thanks so much. So the pre-order is you get 2 Watchmen Chronicle DVDs in separate cases. So 2 DVDs plus the book Further Evidence. And Further Evidence is I sit down with guys like Jesse Marcel Jr. before he's deceased now. You can't go to him anymore.
Right.
So I have an interview with him, a written interview, where I asked Jesse all these questions, and we spoke on the phone, but he wrote them. So I'm not cherry picking. It's like, this is what the guy wrote. Dr. Lynn Kattai, who I spoke on the phone, but also she comes in, Phoenix Lights, 1997. She was the one that filmed these things. She comes on the record. Dr. Roger Lear, he's also deceased. So you can't go to Dr. Roger Lear with the whole implant stuff. Dr. David Jacobs. I mean, all these people come in on the record. It's basically a primer into ufology is really what it is. So you get that, Further Evidence, plus the two DVDs, $24.95. The offer ends at midnight tonight. And I got to tell you, folks, the reason why we're giving 2 DVDs, we want you to give one away to somebody that you love, to somebody that scoffs at the UFO phenomenon, because I promise you, after an hour and a half when you watch this thing, the evidence is so compelling, and the testimonies of these people is absolutely off the hook. It's incredible.
Right. We're going to get a banner up on caravantomidnight.com. I'll get in touch with you on Monday. I look forward to, I'll bring the cigars, all right? I'll see you here, the Watchman, and I'll speak to you sooner, okay? And thanks for coming on the program.
Oh, my honor. Thank you.
L.A. Marzulli, everybody. L.A. Marzulli, L.A., like L.A., no periods, MARZULLI.net. Remember, .net. Okay, something else. Richard Allen Miller's books. We're going to get his books up on our website. If you want to buy something from Richard Allen Miller and you're afraid that he may not get paid for it because he's having some problems, you contact our office. You order the book. We'll make sure Richard gets the dough. Richard will know all about it, of course. All right, one more thing. What else? What is? Yeah, Hear the Watchman. You got to come to this thing. Look, it's over a weekend, March 31st through April 2nd. And And let me just tell you this thing again here real quick. Go to caravantomidnight.com. Scroll down on the right. Click on the Hear the Watchman banner. If you're hearing about this on this show, Arc Midnight, use the promo code CTM. Get a $20 discount. Then go to hearthewatchman.com. Hit the Reserve Live Stream on Demand. Complete the form. Once that's done, you'll get an email on March 1st with the direct sign-up link for the live stream. At that time, enter code CTM10 to get your discount. Listen, I got to go. I love you people. I'm dropping off the scope. Come to caravantomidnight.com. You'll find me. God bless. Arc Midnight out.
Experts agree that America's water infrastructure is deteriorating. Threats include aging infrastructure, ruptured pipes and sinkholes, as well as chemical, pharmaceutical, and sewage-saturated water sources. You need a critical contamination barrier in place for your family. You need the Big Berkey system. It removes viruses, bacteria, pesticides, PFCs, pharmaceuticals, organic chemicals, heavy metals, foul tastes and odors, even radiologicals for just pennies per gallon. Use the portable Big Berkey water purifier at home while traveling, camping, at sporting events, and during an emergency. Because it not only purifies treated water, the powerful Big Berkey system can purify raw, untreated water from sources like lakes, ponds, rivers, and streams. And the Big Berkey system needs no electricity, plumbing, or water pressure, so you can take it anywhere. Get your Big Berkey C2M special by ordering online at berkeywater.com/C2M or call 877-857-PURE.
Stand by.
Are you and your family spiritually and physically prepared for the battle ahead? Announcing Hear the Watchman, Dallas, March 31st through April 2nd. Join me, John B. Wells, Pastor Paul Begley, Pastor Billy Crone, Pastor Carl Gallups, L.A. Marzulli, Russ Dizdar, Derek and Sharon Gilbert from Skywatch TV, Josh Peck, Lisa Haven, Josh Tolley, John Reagan, Mike Norris, and more. Hear the Watchman returns to Dallas for a transformative weekend of unfolding prophetic events, revival, worship, and restoration. We stand at the edge of eternity and the clock is ticking, so reserve your seat now before they're gone. Come join the remnant body of Christ at the DFW Hilton Lakes Executive Conference Center for a powerful weekend that will open your heart and change your world. Visit caravantomidnight.com to reserve your seat today. Limited seating available. That's caravantomidnight.com to make your reservations now. Use promo code CTM and save $20 off the published purchase price. Be there and hear the Watchman.
All the shows, all the music, all the time. Visit caravantomidnight.com and become a CTM member now.
Let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Richard Allen Miller. He is a pioneer in the annals of metaphysical and paranormal exploration. He began working in the X-Files world of Navy Intel, SEAL Corp, and then MRU in the late 60s. I was thinking about tonight. Where will our thoughts take us? What new dimensions of thought may we discover? Well, as Zen Master says, we'll see. Out of the dark of the deep range and into the light of the deep strange cometh the hour, cometh the Arc Midnight. This is John B. Wells speaking. Tuesday through Friday, I am privileged and pleased to host Caravan to Midnight, which can be found at caravantomidnight.com. And every day, Tuesday through Friday, I say almost the same thing every time. Have we got a program for you? Amazing stuff. Unbelievable. Most recently, Dr. Timothy Noakes the man behind Banting. He's getting a lot of blowback. He's a medical doctor. He's a South African. And he's helping people. He's curing people. Of course, the establishment doesn't like that very much. But other people last week, Kevin Shipp, all of these wonderful authors, wonderful researchers, and as a matter of fact, some hardcore law dogs as well. Jordan Phillips was one of them, intimately acquainted with the Kiki Camareno murder by drug lugs. That's drug lords and thugs. I just made a new word. So, if you want to hear some news and information and some interviews that you absolutely positively will not hear on terrestrial radio ever, then this is the program for you. Tonight, Dr. Richard Allen Miller and L.A. Marzulli. And you know, some other stuff about this thing that's coming up again. This is the second time it's been hosted in Dallas. It's called Hear the Watchman. And it's a fantastic conference, a 3-day conference. And you're going to like it. And I'll give you all the details here in just a little bit. Say, so what do you think about this 7 Earth-like planets having been discovered? Everybody wants to know the same thing. Did they find aliens? No aliens. Did aliens tell you there are no aliens discovered? No. Well, I want aliens. Well, you're going to have to wait. Yeah, a huddle of 7 worlds, all close in size to Earth, perhaps warm enough for water and life, has been spotted around a small, faint star in the constellation of Aquarius. Cue the song Aquarius now. Never mind. The discovery, which has thrilled astronomers, has raised hopes that the hunt for alien life beyond the solar system could start much sooner than previously thought, with the next generation of telescopes that are due to switch on in the next decade. I wonder if these planets are round or flat. I think they're round. Otherwise, it would just look like somebody slung some poker chips into outer space, of the jumbo variety. All right, well, I'll tell you what. This is probably the fastest 2 hours in radio. Oh, it goes by quickly. And I'm thinking that maybe the best thing to do is get it on with Dr. Richard Allen Miller. If you don't know who Richard Allen Miller is, you will. And boy, are you in for a treat. He's brilliant. He's Richard Allen Miller. His public collaborations and research continue. As an original Black Ops team member, Miller's research in the field of paranormal began as a graduate physicist working 11 years with Navy Intel in anesthesiology. And during this period, numerous foundational papers, including a holographic concept of reality and embryonic holography, were written. His past and current writings and presentations reveal a depth of knowledge and practical experience in 3 major fields: alternative agriculture, New Age physics, and metaphysics. He now writes for Nexus Magazine and is a preferred guest on radio, including internet radio. He is re-emerging at a critical time in humanity's evolution where metaphysics and practical survival converge. He currently has 10 new books he's preparing to publish. And they go like this: ESP induction through forms of self-hypnosis, power tools for the 21st century, and workbook 1, 2, and 3, that's back to 2014. The non-local mind in a holographic universe, the Diamond Body series, Electromagic and Yogatronics, the SEAL reports, Navy SEALs, Spook Central, MRU reports, the Marshall Papers, Bob Marshall with Buckminster Fuller. Then, The Modern Alchemist, the magic and ritual use of herbs, the magic and ritual use of aphrodisiacs. Okay, why not? The magical and ritual use of parfum, yes. Pantheon, archetypal gods living in daily living. Archetypal gods in daily living. The Holistic Kabbalah. Encyclopedia of Alternative Agriculture, Potential Herbs as a Cash Crop, Native Plants of Commercial Importance, Small Farm Series, Forest Farming Techniques, Successful Farm Ventures for North America, and all of these papers. And it's amazing. He reminds me a little bit of Ed Wynn because, he laughs and he'll kind of do, remember Ed Wynn? Can do that hoo-hoo-hoo thing. And then Rick will get real serious with you and get right up in your face with some information that sometimes is absolutely stunning. So anyway, we're about to connect with him in just a minute. We're having a little dither here. Speaking of metaphysical this and metaphysical that, did you hear about did you happen to hear about all the witches in the country and around the world are going to get together and to try and put a whammy on the lead man for Uncle Sammy, and that would be Mr. Trump. And if you read into it, it's like, well, wait. All we want to do is keep him from doing anything ugly. We don't want to cause harm to anyone or to him, and we don't want him to cause any harm to himself. And it's like, well, which witches are you? Are you black witches? Are you white witches? Are you multicolored witches? What's up? So I'll tell you what, without further ado, why don't we just talk with the one and only Dr. Richard Alan Miller? I'm going to ask him about this witch thing and just see if he's even paid it any attention at all. Dr. Rick, how are you, sir?
I'm good, John. Thank you for having me on, really. I have to laugh on the witchcraft thing. You throw me a curveball. Actually, there's white witches and black witches. Well, that's Christianity. Actually, I would say it's in living color.
Right.
In Neo-Pagan, the American Indian is probably our most accurate totemism and animism form in North America. There are different forms. The Gypsies